It's a very special pleasure to be here today. I'm going to read these remarks, partly because I want to make sure that I don't take too much of your time. But this is a very special privilege for me to be with you in Prague for this marvelous ceremony and honor. I realize there are many people responsible for this gracious day, including the rector of the Charles University, the faculty of the university, and the dean of the social science faculty, and all those at the Center for Economic Research and Graduate Education, as well as others who've helped locally. But I have special thanks to Jan Svenar, who read that beautiful message in Latin. Jan was a graduate student of mine many, many years ago, arrived in Princeton, and to this day my wife remembers him because the day we invited him for dinner, he showed up with a bouquet of flowers, something no American would ever do. One reason this honorary degree is special to me is that it comes from an institution with which I have had such a long and fruitful relationship. And of course, it is being presented in a city that I and my wife, Jenna, have come to realize is one of the most beautiful and civilized in the world. And then there are the Czech people, who since my arrival for a first visit over 20 years ago, have been so friendly to me and have progressed so far. As I came to know Czechs a little better over the years, I gained some perspective on the country. My view at the outset was that there had been far too much outside interference, and that left alone, the Czech nation would prosper. But it did help for me to learn a little bit about the Czech people, and especially their sense of humor, a droll style that for many takes a little getting used to. I give you an example. Upon my arrival, I decided I needed to learn a few Czech words so I could get by in restaurants and other places where university professors are known to hang out. So I asked a graduate student at Surge, what is the most important word for me to know? The answer, without a shade of a smile, was pivo. Ah, I thought, this must be an important Czech word of greeting. So I asked, what does pivo mean? Ah, the graduate student said, without cracking a smile, it means beer. As you can imagine, I then learned the word vino, which is wine, and even more important, as it turned out, archivny vino, which is vintage wine and always symbolized something better than normal. This style of humor sometimes has to change when its object of deprecation changes, and it's no longer possible to amuse yourself with it. My favorite example is the Skoda. When I first arrived at the airport, some of you may remember that airport 25 years ago, in Prague in 1992, I was picked up in a proper communist Skoda, which felt a little bit like a tank when you rode in it. I asked the graduate student escorting me, what kind of a car is this? Ah, he said, this is a Skoda. So I asked, what are they like? His answer, a Skoda is like a Jehovah's Witness. Falling for this completely, I asked, how is a Skoda like a Jehovah's Witness? He answered with a straight face, you cannot close the door in either one. There are, of course, endless Czech jokes of this nature. A man pulls into a gas station and says, I would like a tank of gas for my Skoda. Yes, the attendant says, that's about the right price. Of course, only a few years later, the newly designed Skoda was named Car of the Year in Europe, and when we arrived in Brussels on the way here, I noticed the brand new model was situated in the center of the airport on display. So I've learned a lot, actually, and I've come to enjoy and appreciate much about the Czech Republic and about Prague and about the university. Finally, I'd like to take your time to make a few remarks that touch on the nature of the work I have done.